Now you're welcome, Max. So, as part of the launch of AIB's new series, The Drive, which explores the adversity faced by intercounty players in the modern game and what drives them to pull on the jersey year after year, we are joined by Paul Mannion, who you all know. The show is going to be hosted by Ardal O'Hanlon, and The Drive will feature stories from four intercounty players and their journeys on and off the pitch. It celebrates the perseverance shown by players across the country who, despite logic, can't quit no matter how tough it gets, because tough can't quit. You can view the teaser for the series on AIB's GAA social channels. Paul Mannion, you're very welcome.
Thanks, Joe. Thanks for having me.
I thought when I initially saw this read about people who can't quit intercounty life that this was the Mannion comeback being announced.
No, unfortunately not. I saw a little bit of irony in that too, but no, I'm enjoying myself at the moment. I'm in Boston for the summer, so no imminent return for me, unfortunately.
I saw this. You're playing for Donegal, Boston.
Yeah. There's so I'm sure you know that they run club championships out here all over the States, and I'm starting a new job at home in August, and I was wrapping up my last one a few weeks ago. So it kind of the opportunity was there for a few months, and I said no a few times. So I thought I was going to help you out with work at home, but when I was changing jobs, then it kind of it aligned up nicely with this, and so jumped at it.
Beautiful part of the world.
It is, yeah. It's nice. It's my first time in Boston. It's not as hectic as what you might find in New York, but it's got that kind of downtown city vibe, and then nice kind of suburban kind of areas with beaches and parkland, that kind of stuff. So it's really nice. I'm enjoying it.
Good. You didn't wander out to Brookline to watch the US Open at all, did you?
I did actually. Yeah. I was there. I was there for 4 days. I was there for a couple of the practice rounds, and on Thursday and Friday as well, following Shane Lowry. Unfortunately, wasn't his weekend. He missed the cut for the first time in a long time. But savage experience, unbelievable. That was my first kind of big golf tournament, first ever professional golf tournament actually. So unbelievable to see them up close.
They are scary good when you see them hit balls up close.
Yeah. It was. I was ready to go home and sell my golf clubs after seeing some of them. It is scary because you see some of the par threes, and I'd be like, geez, I'd be taking out a award for some of these. Like, they're crazy. But yeah, great few days.
Amazing. And what's the football vibe over there in the summer? Because my experience of it is just hearing about intercounty players largely going out and joining up with the team like you've done. Is it very competitive? Is it like is your team mainly populated by locals and this is their meet and drink and very important to them, or is everybody just having the crack?
Yeah. It's mainly populated by locals, so it's 13 aside, and each team has to have 2 of those 13 as US born players. 8 of them have to be home based players, so not necessarily US born, but based in Boston. And I think it's like you have to join it by end of January or something like that. So not players that'll be coming out for the summer, and then so the remaining 5 can be players that have come out for the summer on J1s or whatever. So every team has a mix of those players, and yeah, they take it very seriously. This is their championship, like there's no going home to a club championship at home, and there's obviously no county championship, so this is their club. Like, a lot of them have been out here for years and years, and they've been members of Donegal Boston longer than they've been members of their club at home. So they're up for it. It's a short enough championship. There's only 6 group games, and then the top 2 teams go into the final. So we've won our first couple, so we're in good stead. But it's fun. It's a different kind of challenge, but it's good crack.
Yeah. And is there any underlying resentment that, oh great, you've brought over Mannion, or oh, Dermot Conley was out here, like what the hell is this? Or is kind of
there probably is a bit of that as well. But every team is try and bring over a few sanctions and lads that have they've been playing underage, under 20, or the connection to the clubs back home, or some other senior lads maybe that have been knocked out of the championship, intercounty championship early that have come over. So, yeah, I'm sure I'll get a few clatters around the head before the summer's out, but it's part and parcel of it all.
Yeah, you're very welcome. Now go home. It would be remiss of me not to tell the radio listeners on social channels. I'm sure they can see that you have bleached your hair. Are you not too old for this kind of crack? What's going on here?
Desperate. I am. Yeah, this is part of the whole quitting my job kind of thing. I was going traveling. I'm gonna bleach my hair.
Paul, is everything okay? Is everything okay?
It is. It's okay. It's okay. I'm going to the barber today, so I'll get rid of this once and for all. Too much steak. But yeah, that's where I came from.
So it genuinely is. I've finished up at work. I'll be in a job very soon. I'm in the States. Let's just do it for the hell.
Pretty much. Okay. Yeah. Well, this is actually I was in Spain on holidays. I had a few friends that were spending the summer in Valencia, so I went over to visit them before I came out here. And I was just like, yeah, give it a lash. Go for it, why not? Time off work, I can act the clown a little bit.
What, because I know you've had, like, you were in China for a year and then you've done your studies. What world are you working in, by the way? What
I'm working in tech sales, basically. So I've been working with Google Cloud for the last 2.5, 3 years or so. Oh. And I've left them. I'm going to a much smaller company. It's a startup. They'll be very small. So joining them now in August.
Great. Why go from the beast that is Google, and I'm sure all the many options that are there within, and you know you're going to be if you're in Google, I presume you have the opportunity to be at the forefront of where technology is taking us. Why go from that behemoth to startup?
Yeah, it was funny. Well, so I ended up in Google through an acquisition because there was another startup that I joined a few years ago. So often it's these little startups. It's actually the startups that are at the cutting edge of technology and the new players on the market. And then the successful ones will often they'll grow and they might go public or they'll get acquired by the behemoths, as you say, the likes of Google. So that was what happened in the case of Looker, which was the name of the company I joined a few years ago. Okay. And only a few months after I joined them, we were acquired by Google Cloud. So, but it's just a fun journey. I much prefer the smaller kind of startup vibes. I think it presents kind of new opportunities, and there's some things about big companies that can be quite frustrating, even though you get all the nice kind of perks and that kind of thing. There's just things that are more attractive about startups and more fun and being part of smaller teams. And I suppose you feel like you're part of something, you have more impact on the business, that kind of thing. So that's where I feel I'm most happy. So
that sounds great. And like, do a lot of startups is the dream, you know, someday Google might buy us. Is that like the holy grail?
It's probably to go public is the holy grail. Yeah, if you can grow big enough and you can pull off a successful IPO or something like that. Some companies are like, they don't want to get acquired because a lot of things can change then, you know, suddenly then it's, you know, in the case of Looker, we were just one small, tiny product in this massive suite of products in Google Cloud. And all the big decisions then come from Google and not about what may be best for Looker itself. It's what's best for Google Cloud. So sometimes it's not always the dream, but
can I throw you this terribly difficult question? So I don't expect a kind of perfect answer, but I'm sure people have watched things like, for instance, The Social Dilemma on Netflix, and even if they haven't, they just know from looking around at their friends and family members the effect that technology is having on us all, and it does feel very worrying in many respects. And we're, you know, it's so integral to our lives, and yet obviously it's very much for profit. And then just, you know, there's a handful of people like Mark Zuckerberg who are right place, right time, and now probably have far too much influence on the world, and legislation is rapidly trying to catch up. Give us your perspective on technology and what it's done and doing over the last 20 years and where we're going.
Good question. Yeah. I've seen The Social Dilemma. I've seen a number of other documentaries like that. even in college, it was a big topic of kind of debate and discussion in some of the class I took then. It obviously is a problem. Like the biggest impact on it is just the day-to-day kind of discourse between people and what we can agree on, what's true and what's not true, and where we get our sources of news from, that kind of thing. And it's not just a kind of a tech problem. I see it here in the States. I've been sitting on the TV there, and I'm like, I'm sure on Fox News or one American news network here, just to see what's being consumed by half the population here. And if you're here on your couch and you're tuning into CNN all day, or you're tuning into to Fox News or one of these or Newsmax ones, you're nearly literally living in another world, like, because it's everything is just flipped on its head, like, and I suppose that it's hard to agree on, kind of objective facts, and that great line of alternative facts a few years ago from Kellyanne Conway. It's look, I don't know the answer to it. It's obviously very tricky. I think Elon Musk and Twitter has been big in the news lately. I think he has got some good ideas. I don't think anyone should be as afraid of him taking over Twitter as they are. I think something as simple as just verifying all humans on social media is just like one of the most basic steps that tech companies can very easily take and should take. So there's obviously a lot that needs to be done, I think, but there's definitely some quick wins there, and that'll help a lot.
I guess it's just all happened so fast. You know, if you like really from iPhone 07, 08 territory, it just seems like, I mean, we're not even teenagers yet with this stuff. We don't know what the hell we're doing, and it's so all encompassing. Like, it's funny there, you mention we can't even agree on some basic facts. I've seen you in several interviews. You're one of the very few sports people I've ever seen, by the way, talk about the climate crisis. And I've seen you talk about that. We can't even agree on that. I mean, you drive a few miles south there, and you drive a few miles south there for a weekend before you go home and try and talk to people about climate crisis. I remember you did an interview with Malachi Clark a couple of years ago, and you said it literally keeps me up nights. I do sometimes think maybe sports people don't talk about it all that much because generally, and maybe GAA players a bit of an exception, but the footprint of sport is colossal. Like, I did a rugby piece last night with South African journalist, and we're like, so when is South Africa joining the Six Nations? But like, nobody is saying this is madness, like from a sustainability point of view.
I know, yeah, it's a good point. I think, like, slowly, maybe much too slowly, but it is obviously more in the spotlight now. I love seeing even the likes of Gary Lineker, we see like tweeting a lot about it now, and so I think sports players we can have an impact, and we can talk about it. Probably don't do too much with myself or as much as I should, but a good that Don't Look Up movie that I watched was it last year or earlier this year, and that came out. That was just like, this is it. Like, this explains it all. And I couldn't believe a lot of friends and family that I spoke to, just they were like, I don't get it. It was a silly movie, like, and they didn't actually realize that this meteor was a metaphor for climate change. It was coming and it was trying to show people's reaction to it. Like, what if climate change was a meteor that was coming to destroy it all, and what if everyone reacted in this crazy way? It would be utterly nonsensical. But I think that kind of portrayed the kind of frustration that sometimes I feel, and a lot of people do feel. When I said earlier a couple of years ago that, like, it can keep you up at night. It's that kind of just angstiness. But it's just such a complicated problem. As I said earlier, like the politics here, even simple facts around climate change, people kind of politicized, and it's harder to even have a discussion about that then when, like, things like prices here in America are crazy as well. People are feeling it.
Yeah, wait till you get home.
Oh, I know. Yeah, like it's hard to get anything done, and then prices are going up. Your supermarket, like a simple shop here, like a 2-day grocery shop could cost easily over $100, and then people are blaming Joe Biden, and it was bring back Republicans, and then they're not going to do much to save the major problems either. So I don't know. It's sometimes when you think about complexities of it all, it's overwhelming. But
And do you get to a point where you say, God, this is all a bit overwhelming, I'm just not going to think about it for a while? Because you could spend your whole time almost beady-eyed looking at everybody being so wasteful.
yeah, I think you have to. I think sometimes you kind of just have to say, right, there's no point kind of thinking about this all day and getting yourself worked up over it. But that's yeah, it's hard to do sometimes. But look, I think things are changing anyway, and hopefully will change faster.
Yeah, well, we're in a rush, I guess, is the problem.
Yeah,
So,
yeah.
are you watching much intercounty GAA from Boston?
I haven't been able to catch much since I got here. Now I was watching all the games when I was at home before that. But yeah, I need to get on to someone who's got a dodgy box or GA go over here for the weekend game against Cork.
And
I'll definitely be watching that.
okay, that's interesting. So you're still, and obviously, look, you've been doing your thing with Kilmacud and you're
Mm.
playing still. So you're still very invested in the sport and enjoy even watching the sport.
Mm.
I presume you're asked all the time, when are you coming back? When are you coming back? Is there a definite I'm not coming back, or is it just year by year for you at this stage in your life?
Well, yeah, no, I have always said it's year by year for me, and
Right.
not just at this stage in my life, but even when I was younger, and um, yeah, I took the year out from China. It was a year from here and there. I was thinking I was going to go back to China, and then I decided I'd stay. And I never try and plan too far ahead because when I do, I'll change my mind and something else might pop up. So I just try and commit myself fully to short term goals. That's been
Mm.
my kind of my go to plan, I guess. And well, I can confidently say at the moment that I'm happy out, and I don't foresee myself going back. And I've just been really enjoying this time off
Mm.
and more time at the club. So
I suspect there are compelling arguments to play and also to step away. What were the prominent ones on both sides for you?
I suppose that the reasons this to step away were obviously all the opportunities to do different things, and I keep saying different things sounds so vague and sounds so silly. I kind of said it so many times now. I'm like, what do I actually mean by that? But simple things like it's sometimes simple things like family occasions, birthdays, it's social gatherings. Then it's like playing like Monday night soccer leagues,
Okay, so it's nothing
which
actually. All it's nothing necessarily like profound with your life. It's day to day living.
no, I haven't. Like I said, I'm still playing. It's not the game that I've given up. I'm still playing. I'm still contributing a lot of time to the club
Mm.
back home, but it's just with club football, it's a little bit more stripped back. I feel it's you've still got, and particularly with Crokes, like I've still got that buzz of competing with for a county championship, for an All Ireland championship we had a run at this year. So I still feel like I've got that kick, and that is still important to me. That I feel like I can compete and
Mm.
play competitively, and yet still have time to just, as I said, for all those other things, to play a bit of football, play a bit of golf, to have more time for social things, to take a bit more holidays if I want to, and to not have to not have all these other things just come second, third all the time.
Yeah.
So, and even just the pressure of having to be at your best and performing like week in, week out, and not just in games but in training. Like it's a really, really high pressure environment to be in for
Yeah.
so long, and to an extent you do feel like a little bit of like kind of weight off the shoulders when that's not there, and
Mm.
just a more kind of relaxed lifestyle, I guess. And then the other side of it, of course, there's loads of things that you miss as well. Like the biggest one was trying to say goodbye to the team, and just and leaving the WhatsApp, like something as simple as that. That was a bit of a like deep breath kind of moment. Just do it, like and once it's done, it's kind of that's done. Like you feel that kind of finality kind of around it once
Mm.
you've hit that kind of exit button. And yeah, so that was difficult. Saying goodbye to lads. That sounds a bit dramatic now as
Oh
well,
yeah, sure.
but you're like in when you step outside that circle, there has to be that boundary there. So of course we're still like best of friends. I still feel like they're all like my friends, and they will be for the rest of my life. But you know, while they're playing and I'm not, it's like
Yeah.
there's a boundary there which I have to respect.
Yeah. And I guess, you know, those friendships are not, I was going to say tested. That's too strong a word. They're affected because for so many years, your schedule would bring you together 3 times a week, 4 times a week. And, you know, that's one of the great
Yeah, yeah.
difficulties we have in the real world is finding time to see
Mm.
each other. And then, you know, you are that bit on the outside. They can't talk as freely maybe as they
Yeah,
might
yeah, no,
otherwise
it
have.
is true, it is true, and we've because there has been a lot of us that have kind of stepped away over the last few years. We've kind of set up a little group of recent kind of retirees as well,
Okay.
and we're going to try and have a gathering or two a year. We've we've went in on a cask of whiskey together. About 12 to 15 of us chipped in. We bought a cask of whiskey that we're going to have kind of branded and labelled as our own and stuff. So that's a bit of crack, and that'll take us around kind of Ireland to distilleries out in Sligo. So I'll try and plan a little whiskey tasting trip out there next summer, and try and keep something like that going each year
Yeah.
to stay in contact. You know?
Yeah. Well, I guess like you guys could not see each other for 100 years and pick it up where you left off in a heartbeat. Dare I
Yeah,
ask what you've branded the whiskey as?
we're still looking for a name for it.
Okay.
Actually, to be honest, it's at the moment it's got a quite a boring name as Dublin Retirees, but no, we have to it's a few years yet while it's kind of distilling before we need to think about labels and
Okay.
that kind of thing. So we'll think of something over the next few years.
See, your last All Ireland final was the 2020 final, the COVID final. People will remember it as in December, where you came off the bench and really had a massive impact in the game. You know, it was just like Mayo just didn't have a bench to compete with Dublin's. That was All Ireland number 6, and it was probably an odd feeling in an empty stadium, I'm sure, albeit satisfying nonetheless. Do you think if you didn't have 6 in the bank, you'd be more inclined to keep on playing? Like, was there a degree of, well, like, what's the difference between
Mm.
4, 5, 6 in terms of my happiness and how I'm going to feel? Like, what do I just keep doing it for the next 10 years and it's great and everything? But was there that degree of, like, I've done it a little bit?
Yeah, I don't like it wasn't something I was kind of actually thinking about when I was kind of weighing up the decision, but it's obviously it is like it's something that's there, and it's going to influence in some way. So I wasn't thinking, oh, I've done 6 now, I don't want to win anymore. And in fact,
Sure.
I never got bored with it.
Mm.
That 6th All Ireland, even with it being in an empty Crow Park in December, was actually one of the sweetest ones for me. And
Okay.
even the role I played, like it was, obviously I was kind of coming off the bench for most of those championship games, and but I think particularly the year like that was a year when there was so much talk about Dublin dominance, and other teams hadn't been performing, and we probably hadn't been performing great ourselves. But I felt there was a lot kind of loading up on Dublin that year, and this, that, and the other, and
Mm.
it got to a point where it was just like when we won that, it was just it felt like a bit of like frustration, like let out, like, and that was actually a really really sweet one. So
Right.
it was funny, like, and that was 6. It was so it wasn't that I was kind of tired of winning or I wasn't getting a kick out of it anymore.
Okay.
It was really just all that other stuff that I
Okay.
mentioned. That was the biggest factor. Yeah.
Yeah, fair enough. Because I mean, it's so easy to put 2 and 2 together and get 5, and look at you, and you weren't
Mm.
in the first team that year, and maybe you've just thought, well, I'm not in the first team, I'm not hanging around. But clearly, it's more than that. I also wonder
Mm.
though, like the format, it is a lot of commitment and a lot of training for potentially. Let's be honest. I can say this. You probably can't. It might sound disrespectful, but
Mm.
what looked like 1 or 2 really big days, really big games against top
Mm.
opposition, full Crow Park, like the days that you will remember in 30 years and the days that you kind of live
Mm.
for. It was 6 months of training and routine wins for 1 to 2 big games. Never felt like a great ratio, I have to say, looking in from the outside.
Yeah, well, that's probably a question for like the GAA has to answer as
Oh,
well.
totally.
Like,
Yeah.
how do we create more competitive games more often? Because it's an unbelievable product we have in the GAA, and it can be amazing. Like, but there's absolutely no doubt that we're probably not getting as much out of it as we should.
No.
I don't mean players getting much, just in terms of spectacle, in terms of supporters. Like, there's definitely more that we can do there to make it more exciting and to give. Look, I think the Tapping Cup is a huge step towards that as well. It's giving smaller counties as well that have been out early in the championship chance to compete, to play more games, to get towns and counties up for a game and get excited about it. So I think that's a massive step. But yeah, there's definitely a little bit more tweaking that needs to be done. It seems very, very difficult to get anything done as well. Like, there's proposals getting put forward left, right, and centre, and also getting shot down as well. So I don't know, but I know. I think this is last year before they're tweaking it again.
Another tweak.
We'll eventually get there. Maybe another 20 years or something.
Can't even blame that on Fox News or technology. It's just the GA. I just one last question then. In terms of the split season, so you're coming back at the end of the summer. Will the Dublin Championship start any earlier than it would usually have started? Has the split season changed the lot of the club player in any great way in Dublin?
I don't think so. It's probably the impact's probably felt a little bit less in Dublin, maybe some in other counties as well, because Dublin, for those number of years, we're getting to All Ireland final, so it wasn't until August, kind of September, when your club championship would be kicking off anyway. So for a lot of us in Dublin, it doesn't feel like a massive change. But it is definitely really, really nice to just have a fixed kind of date when you know you'll be playing championship, and you're not waiting to see how far Dublin are going to get to, and when do we need to start training, when do we need to be ready for. And it's great for club players that you can just, when you can take holidays, when you need to be back for training, and when championship's going to start. And I think it'd be good for club championship to even have that last bit of summer as well, to have the game on firm ground and better weather. Like, it's saw from inter-county championship when it was in the depth of winter, it's not as exciting and interesting spectacle. So club championship has always kind of had that graveyard shift for years, and
it has.
It'd be nice to see a little bit more of it in the summer when all the players want to be playing. And I think people will enjoy the club championship a lot more now next year. I think there's great stories there. There's always a couple of interesting clubs that have broken through, and great stories within those clubs. So yeah, I'm looking forward to it.
How is your fitness playing for Kilmacud versus 2017, 2018 when you're really flying for Dublin?
It's I don't know, like in kind of fitness tests, I think I've been doing okay. Strength wise, I've managed to maintain most of it. I'm sure if I was to go back into the Dublin training session tomorrow, I'd be paddy last in the running, but I wasn't much better even in the endurance stuff when I was at my peak. So
were you not? Jeez, I always
no, not endurance.
I thought you could run forever. No, right?
Not really. No. I was more of a
bit of speed.
I could get speed really. I could get down the pitch fast and maybe back up again fast, but then I was any more than that. I needed a break.
Jeez, but interesting.
Yeah. So
who was the greyhound? I always felt like Jack McCaffrey was like speed and could probably run forever in his day.
I say in his day, going back to when he was under 21s, he'd have both. As the years went on, he was just a bit more like me.
Okay.
Speed, yeah. Okay. And he was exceptionally good at that, so he wasn't too worried about the endurance side of things either.
Right. Who would you get to run a marathon for your life in that Dublin setup?
Geez, you can guess it yourself. Probably like Cian Sullivan, James McCarthy, Kieran Kenny. Anyway, the lads see up and down around the pitch on championship days. They're the lads who be flying as well, and he runs.
James McCarthy just has that look of a greyhound. Just these long.
I know, yeah.
0% body fat. I've taken up too much of your time. Great to chat to you. Again, Paul Mannion was giving us his time as part of the launch of a new AIB series, The Drive. So Ardal O'Hanlon is presenting it, and it's going to feature stories from 4 intercounty players who simply refuse to walk away because tough can't quit. And there's teasers for the series on the AIB GAA's social channels. Paul Mannion, a real pleasure. Enjoy the jolly out in Boston, and we'll see you when we see you. Thanks so much.
Thanks a lot, Joe. Cheers.